Hey everybody, as you are undoubtedly aware, it is John from the esports department here with tonight's LPL LCK slate, and it's a big one. Tonight is the Summoner's Hex, the $600 100K to first. I will probably end up staying up tonight and live sweating it. I don't always do that with every game, but it seems like tonight would be a good time for it. And we've got some games that definitely move the ownership around. I think I don't think you're going to see anything be too over the top chalky on this slate. So let's have a look what we're dealing with here. JDG at minus 345. They are 7-2 on the season. Up against Vici Gaming, they are plus 240, 5-3 on the season. Against winning teams, JDG is 4-2, Vici is 1-3. A bit of a different trajectories for sure. Not opposite trajectories, but different trajectories for these two teams. JDG, coming off of an absolutely insane spring split, have been up and down and back and forth. I wouldn't say they've been trending downwards at all, but they're not really trending upwards either. They're not looking nearly as dominant as they were last split. They still look extremely good when they get the right champions, especially. I feel like their drafting has been a little bit suspect this split with the new metagame, but they're still obviously a fantastic team and one of the best teams in the LPL and in the world. Vici started this split off a complete dumpster fire and has turned it around in recent weeks. That said, they're still only 1-3 against winning teams. They started Leon, I can't remember if it was last series or the one before, but they started Leon and took him out for Ikes, who ended up winning games. Leon in general has been a really big letdown, and he's up against Kanavi here. Not my favorite spot to be targeting Vici Gaming personally. Looking at the stats for the teams, it's 1857 for JDG to 1766 for Vici, plus 146 to plus 28. First Blood, First Turret is actually both in the advantage of Vici, and you're going to see from another stat as well. Dragon Control, 57 to 52, so just a slight edge for JDG there. And at 15 minutes, plus 729 for Vici, plus 235 for JDG. So, Vici is the better team at 15 minutes. And that's kind of what I wanted to point out here, because we've had a lot of examples of this kind of thing recently. And most notably, if you watched yesterday's video, it was the Rogue Warriors matchup last night against LGD. I said in the video that while LGD was a reasonable favorite and should have been the favorite, I did say that there was a very clear path to victory for Rogue Warriors, which is that LGD had not looked very good when they'd been behind at 15 minutes. They had generally been ahead, and when they had been behind, they had looked pretty bad, and that was what happened last night. Rogue Warriors got leads both games. LGD did not look good from behind, and they got beat up. Vici is also a team that is accustomed to being ahead at 15 minutes. JDG, however, is usually ahead at 15 minutes, but not by nearly the same amount that Vici is. So it's all about whether or not JDG plays well from behind. Are they the kind of team that can have a mid-game team fight or a third dragon fight and turn a game around? In this case, I really think they are. They're 7-2 with a monstrous goal differential per minute, despite only being just barely ahead at 15 minutes, versus the much more ahead at 15 minutes Vici, who still is not averaging nearly the same goal differential per minute. It's telling you that Vici is failing in the mid to late game, where JDG is succeeding the most in the mid to late game. Same shown by the First Blood, First Turret type stats. Feels like a really good matchup for JDG to me. Kills per win for JDG are currently at 18.9, which is pretty absurd. And death per loss for Vici at 18.7, so huge numbers. JDG looking like an absolute smash play in both GPP or cash tonight. Going on to the second matchup, OMG's minus 115, and I'm going to say E-Star is minus 120. I'm going to say these numbers are moving a lot today, and OMG is now actually the favorite against E-Star. I think it's actually just swapped to about minus 120 and minus 115 the other way as of last time I checked. But the numbers for this matchup have moved around quite a bit. OMG is 3-6. They are 0-4 against winning teams. E-Star is 2-8. They are 0-7 against winning teams. So there is something worth pointing out there. E-Star, for as much of a letdown as they have been this season, has had probably the hardest schedule you can have. I think there are only 7 or 8 winning teams in the LPL. And of those 7 or 8 teams, E-Star has played almost all of them. So let's have a look real quick, just to confirm my thoughts here. How many teams are currently winning teams in the LPL? Oh, there's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And eStar has played 7 of those. So in their last 6 matchups, eStar has 3 winning teams left to play. Vici has played 9 games. Their record against winning teams is 0-4. So let's see. There's 6 more teams for them to play in their last 7 games. So OMG's remaining opponents are almost entirely winning teams, whereas eStar only about 50% of exactly 50% of their future matches are against winning teams. So a much tougher schedule for eStar. I was a little bit off there. I thought it was more like 7 or 8 winning teams, but it's actually 10. But either way, eStar's schedule has been significantly harder than OMG's. Let's look at their numbers here. OMG 1749 to 1744 in gold per minute. Wow, close. Gold differential per minute minus 58 to minus 66. Wow, close. eStar first blood first turret 5469 to 4330, so advantage to eStar there. Dragon percentage 45 to 51, advantage to eStar again. At 15 minutes, eStar is minus 191, OMG is minus 291. Let's do a quick little fun side thing, because this is a big slate, and so let's take a look in their recent matches. If we're going to assume by looking at these stats that OMG is a team, that both of these teams actually are teams that are going to be behind at 15 minutes, and they're going to plan on winning mid to late game team fights. Let's have a look at who they're playing to do that. This is something I think people have talked to me about quite a bit, and I will try to include more in the videos in the future, going over kind of analysis of compositions. Let me figure out where we're at here so that I can work backwards. Okay, let's look for OMG games and eStar games, and look over their last couple and see what they're playing. Here's OMG against LGD. In the first game, they end up on Ashe, Syndra, Volibear. Gangplank is a great scaler, but their opponent is clearly playing the aggressive comp, Renekton, Nidalee. When their opponent plays an aggressive early game composition, OMG goes ahead and takes a very long victory. So they win this game, but they do it very late in the game, and give up an early game lead, but manage to come back using the Gangplank and the Syndra. Game 2, they take the Lee Sin, which is a very early game pick, but the Sivir and the Jax, both very late game. Orianna kind of good at any point in the game for the most part. So not a super scaling composition, but definitely a composition that can scale there. Game 3, they go with the Lee Sin, the Wukong, and the Pantheon, a much more aggressive composition, even though Ashe is a bit more of a scaler. This is kind of an early mid-game composition, I would say. They don't scale super well, but they're also not terrible. It is worth noting, though, that their opponents go back once again to a hugely early game composition with the Renekton Nidalee, as far as I'm concerned, automatically making it an early game composition. And they lose to an early game composition at about 29 minutes there. So not super great from OMG there. Next we have eStar playing against Invictus. eStar takes Kassadin, Ezreal, which is great scaling stuff there, but then they throw in a Rek'Sai, and this is what we hate to see with compositions. Oh, I hate to see a Kassadin and a Rek'Sai on the same team. I understand the theory of like Rek'Sai can bridge the gap by being strong early while Kassadin is scaling, but I still just don't generally like to see it. I'd rather see something that was a little bit more mid-game focused out of the jungle there, something that's still good in a team fight, but maybe is not a pure scaler. And they do lose that game to OMG, or to Invictus, sorry. Game 2, eStar is on the full scale here. We've got the Ornn, we've got the Aphelios. Echo can scale just fine, and Set's pretty good at any team fighting stage of the game, so definitely more of a scaling composition there, and they win. Game 1, they're scaling again, this time with the Aphelios and Ornn as well. They got the Graves. I think the big standout here is this Twisted Fate. I think this Twisted Fate has just been really bad in general for most teams. And they're up against a pretty decent scaling composition, a scaling team fight composition from IG here. But they are willing to draft towards that late game with they've got the Ornn Aphelios there. Looking at OMG versus BLG. OMG goes with the Aphelios. They take the Wukong this time. I kind of prefer the Wukong as a counter to Aphelios, although I think it's an alright play in general, but I kind of prefer it as an Aphelios counter. I can see why some people are taking it like almost as a blind pick, but Reasonable scaling there, reasonable scaling composition. They do lose that game to BLG, who's on a similarly scaled composition, a little bit less scaling, I would say, for BLG. Game 2, OMG's back on the Aphelios again, this time with the Malphite. Malphite, kind of the same thing. I kind of feel like Malphite is at its best as a counter to Aphelios, so interesting that they're drafting them both along with Aphelios. Echo scales very well and plays just fine with Syndra, so that seems fine. Game 1, they're back on the Aphelios, so both of these teams with a high Aphelios priority for sure. They get Icon on the Zoe. Whether or not Zoe scales is kind of up in the air. It kind of depends. I mean, she's clearly not a super early game champion, but if she's behind, she's kind of a never gets there champion, and if she's ahead, she can be a mid-game spike champion, so it's kind of up in the air on what kind of scaling she is. Let's look at one more match from E-Star. So far, I would say E-Star drafted scaling in 2 out of 3 games of their last series. OMG has drafted it like probably a little bit less than half of the time, depending on your definition of scaling. Up against Sunning this time. This is a very similar composition to the kind of stuff we were seeing from OMG. Not really necessarily a scaling composition, but it does have the Aphelios. In the game 2, it's back to Ornn, this time Ornn with Kassadin. And I want you to notice that trend with E-Star here, by the way. This is when they're winning. I mean, they haven't always won, but they've done so much better when they've had this kind of setup. Something like an Aphelios or a Kassadin, an Ornn in the top lane, some other kind of tanky thing at support. But they get another win on scaling there. And E-Star, in the first game of the series, I definitely wouldn't call this a scaling composition. I just don't like this composition in general. Not a lot of damage here. I understand, trying to turn Ashe into a super carry with the help of Karma and Morgana giving her the black shield, but I just don't like this composition at all. This is something I don't want to see any team I'm putting money into draft pretty much ever. That being said, I still think we're seeing more real, true scaling compositions from E-Star, which just makes me lean a little bit further towards E-Star for this matchup, but it's a close one. Going to the LCK, we've got DWG Gaming at minus 950, 6-2 on the season. They're up against Team Dynamics, plus 500, 4-4 on the season. So it's hard to say that DWG's been the standout team of the LCK this summer because they're only 6-2. It's not like they're 8-0 and absolutely blowing everything up, but they've definitely been a standout team. Versus winning teams this season, DWG is 2-2, Dynamics is 1-3. I definitely think we've seen a hard fall off from Dynamics that I think a lot of people expected. They came out and looked like got a couple big upsets at the very beginning of the season, and since then have not really looked super exciting. And you can see it in the stats: 1952 for DWG versus 1715 or 14, a big gap there. Plus 316 to minus 13. DWG's first turret is 94%, which is crazy, and they're about the same on First Blood with 39. A 6-point edge in Dragon Control, and at 15 minutes it is plus 2679 to minus 107. Now I know if you've watched previous DWG Gaming videos, I've talked a number of times about how this number is just continually dropping and will continue to drop, but just worth noting that they are still absolutely insane at 15 minutes, where Dynamics has not been that kind of team. Looking at kill per win and death per loss, Dynamics 18.2 to 16.8. So they're not quite looking as bloody as these LPL games. The LPL games are definitely looking to be the bloodier games for tonight. You can see, what's the lowest number we even really see here? 17.3. I guess Vici's winning number is not huge, but everything else is like 17.3 or higher. And that's still higher than what Dynamics' death per loss is. So it's really hard to fade away from the LPL tonight. But there could be some blood here. DWG Gaming has definitely been alright with being bloody in their wins. If you believe in Dynamics, I think their ownership is going to be extremely low, so you can definitely get a Dynamics lineup pretty cheap, and you could probably get a pretty heavy stack of some big LPL favorite or something if you throw them with Dynamics, but not one of my favorite plays for the night. And the last matchup of the night, GenG minus 300. They are 6-2 on the season, versus Afrika Freaks plus 210. They are 5-3 on the season. Against winning teams, GenG is 2-2. Afrika is 1-3. So GenG has been the bane of many DFS players this season. They've definitely just ramped up their kill per win to a level that it's never been before for a team like them, or generally in the LCK. But even the team that GenG came from before this, which had some similar coaching staff, was never like this. This iteration of GenG has never been like this. All of a sudden, they're just getting all kinds of kills in their wins. But even then, they're still not out projecting the LPL for the most part. It's hard not to touch GenG at this point. I mean, they're winning like every single slate they're on is GenG involved in the winning lineup, and it definitely has me on pretty gross tilt. But it's hard not to play at least a lineup or two, with them at 17.9 and Afrika at 17.2, especially since I think they're actually probably one of the more likely sweep type teams on this slate. Looking at the gold per minute, 1861 to 1743. Gold differential plus 156 to 0. An actual 0, by the way. That was the actual stat. It's dead even in gold differential per minute. First blood, first turret, both advantages to GenG. Dragon percentage, they have a 17-point edge, and 69 is one of the best dragon control numbers in the entire world. So I think you can expect GenG team to be pretty valuable as well today. At 15 minutes, plus 1,052 to minus 823. I definitely think GenG is a pretty big favorite to win this series decisively. Afrika, just doing Afrika things. I mean, Afrika is so up and down every single season. I don't know what's going on with their coaching staff or the team that they have around there, but every season it seems like they're a team that just loses matches that you never thought they would lose and then wins matches that you definitely never thought they could. They're just an absurd team, but they punch up well. I could see them catching heat here tonight and beating GenG. I think they're a reasonable underdog. I think I would rather play them than Vici, as weird as that might sound, because I know some people are a little on Vici tonight. I think I'd rather play Afrika than Vici if I had to pick an underdog of those two. And once again, we're treated to some pretty large numbers, like we were talking about. 17.9 to 17.2, so there's definitely the opportunity for blood there as well. Looking at the ownership for this slate, DWN and Dynamics, OMG and E-Star, JDG, and Vici. The lowest team is definitely going to be Dynamics. I don't think we have any sort of questions about that. Second lowest owned team, I lean Afrika. That makes the most sense to me, I think. Followed by Vici. I think you could actually see an LCK favorite in this spot. I'm going to guess DWN if I was guessing. And then the underdog of this matchup, so probably E-Star here. Probably GenG comes here. It's hard. I mean, GenG has had so much ownership lately, man. Maybe GenG is higher than this. Especially with OMG's ownership getting taken away by E-Star. Yeah, let's do this. This feels correct to me. JDG, GenG, OMG, E-Star, then DWN, Vici, Afrika, and Dynamics in last place. This makes too much sense to me. This feels like it just has to be the case. I'd be a little bit surprised if it wasn't in this order. So, looking for leverage, I think Vici's got it. I think as far as favorites, if you wanted to do something a little wacky, you could get DWN in there with somebody. DWN I don't think is going to garner a lot of ownership today. Afrika I think is a punch-up underdog that could randomly take a game or two off of GenG, and I think they're going to be very low. Dynamics I'm not sure I want to be involved with, no matter how I look at it pretty much. Let's look at the favorites real quick. You guys almost got there. You almost did. She didn't give you a full bark. If she did, it would be ruining the whole video. Let's see. For the favorites, I have not removed the people that are not playing yet. Also, I guess there's two things I should note with lineups before we go any further. Number one, E-Star is playing Rat, their backup AD carry. I'm guessing if Rat is coming in at this point in the season, honestly, I think he's probably doing better in all the scrims and other things that they're doing than Wink is. I wouldn't put too much care on whether or not it's going to be Wink or Rat. Obviously, he's going to have some level of a chance that they sub him out. But I'm guessing we'll see him for this series, and I'm guessing probably he doesn't affect their overall skill level that much unless it's increased. Like, I don't think it's going to hurt them, really, to have Rat in there. So if you like E-Star before hearing that news, I would stay on E-Star after the news. Someone did tell me there was a rumor that DWN Gaming might be playing Nuclear and Hoyt, maybe? Nuclear and Hoyt. we've seen those guys plenty, and I don't think they affect the team that much either. I do think Barrel is like very good, and I think they have strategies with Ghost and Barrel that are working well. If Nuclear and Hoyt play, DWG Gaming doesn't play through that lane anyway. All they need those guys to do is just basically farm and not hard feed. And so I don't think the lineup differences tonight actually make almost any difference to who I would consider playing. Anyone I would have considered playing before the lineup news, I would still consider playing afterwards. But looking at the favorites, highest projection going to JDG. DWG Gaming actually coming above GenG. OMG in the third spot there. At the jungle, JDG once again followed by OMG, and there's a big gap between Kanavi and anyone else, 88 all the way down to 79. In the top lane, it was pretty close, a 1.6 difference. In the jungle, it's not close at all. Kanavi crushes everyone. GenG being the lowest once again. In the mid lane, Showmaker actually with the highest projection, which is a little bit wild, especially against Dynamics. But, you know, Showmaker has definitely been showing out this season and had some monstrous games, so not super surprising. And it's actually Yagao that gets the low spot, so Icon even ahead of him, but BDD coming in second. BDD has also had some great games this season. At 80 carry, it's the LPL 80 carries at the top with Loken shining the hardest, Ruler and Ghost at the least part. If that's Nuclear, I wouldn't expect that to change too much. Nuclear, I actually feel like is more of a get resources guy and might be a little bit better than this if it ends up being him. But I don't think it'll be too much better, and I would still expect Loken, SMLZ, and Ruler to be higher. In the support position, it's Lumao, which doesn't surprise me either. Lumao is an incredible support, maybe the best in the world, and plays absolutely fantastically with very high kill participation, so no surprise there. And he outshines pretty good on Cold, Barrel, and Life coming in last. So generally when we're looking at this, what we're learning is JDG is at the bottom. GenG is at the bottom, JDG is at the top for the most part, opposite in the team slot. But generally speaking, we're seeing JDG top, GenG bottom, and then a mixture of OMG and DWG in the middle, depending on what else is going on. That seems fair. Looking at the underdogs, see where the points are coming there. Okay. E-Star projecting the best, followed by Afrika Freaks if they manage to win. VG in third and Dynamics last for the top lane. E-Star remains, Dynamics remains, VG and Afrika in the middle. E-Star showing up at the top. Same in the mid lane, E-Star, Dynamics. So we're kind of getting that trend here. E-Star being the team that's expected to score the most if they win. Dynamics expected to score the least, and Afrika and VG somewhere in between. At 80 carry, Rat projecting actually a full 12.4 points better than anybody else on the slate, so you have to like Rat if you're going to play E-Star this season. Dynamics staying at the bottom. And the only spot where Dynamics moves up a spot, he actually projects better than Ben from Afrika Freaks, but it is Xiaoxi projecting a full 10.3 points better than anybody else if E-Star were to win. So E-Star definitely projecting the best of those, Dynamics definitely the least, and that makes total sense with everything that we've talked about and seen statistically. Let's look at who's still in here. It's Vici. Okay, let's look at some cash game lineups real quick before we finish up with this. JDG's minus 345, they seem like they might want to be involved. DWG at minus 950. GenG at minus 300, I think is worth mentioning. So we're looking for some combination of JDG, DWG, and GenG. So let's see, JDG, DWG, JDG, GenG, and DWG, GenG as possible options. So let's start with JDG and DWG. JDG, it looks like you can get a 4 JDG lineup. You do have to play Lumao support as your captain, but Lumao is actually just a fantastic scoring support anyway. I'm not too worried about having him as my captain. It's kind of like having Mickey X as your captain. He doesn't usually score as well as his carries or whatever, but he's a good scoring support in general, so it doesn't hurt me to have Lumao there. And that projects at 586.7. If you play JDG with GenG instead, that is Zoom captain. It is a 3-3, so you're with 3 GenG players in there. And I doubt you could add anybody else. GenG a little bit, or JDG more on the expensive side than GenG. that gets you the Zoom captain with Rascal, BDD, and Life, filling it out with JDG and the GenG team. That's a 588.3. And when we do Damwon and GenG, the LCK special, it's a jungle captain. They've got it on 3 Damwon. I think, if it's me, I feel like I want to get a 4th from one of these two teams. I'm not sure necessarily which way I would shoot for that. You could go, hold on, what did that project? 576.3. You could go with Clid as your captain. Hold on. Leaves 200 on the table, so then you could upgrade. I swear I just saw a way to do that. Let me look at it again. Did Clid captain with Rascal, Canyon, Showmaker, Ghost, Barrel? That doesn't get it done. Show me the optimize again. That leaves 100 on the table. This must be the cheapest person at every position. If you switched Canyon and Clid, leaves you 200, but you'd have to be able to upgrade either BDD or Life, which you can't do. Okay. You could get a 600th here by switching to Damwon. No, that would drop you down to less. So it looks like the 3-3 probably just plays out the best. That being said, I spent a lot of time on that for a lineup that definitely projects under the other two, and I think JDG is pretty safe, so I don't see any reason to go with the Damwon GenG. JDG GenG projects the best, makes a lot of sense to me. 588.3, I think that's the cash lineup as far as I'm concerned. That's pretty much what I was going to talk about. I do want to look at one more thing before we go, which is I'm seeing a lot of people talking about E-Star being chalky tonight. That might be the case. We did do it in the ownership that E-Star was going to be pretty high. But I think the easiest way that you can figure out if that's going to be true is just by building some lineups real quick to see if they actually get you anything versus OMG. So like, let's say you want to play with JDG, which is what I think most people want to do. If you got them with OMG, who do you get? You get an 80 carry captain with 3-3. What if you switched? Is there any way to get a 4th JDG guy in here somehow? There can't be. So you can get a 3-3. If you played 4 OMG, you can get a 3-3 with 80 carry captain. Could you do it with, like, say, Yagao captain? Yep, it's doable. You still only have 3 JDG players in this version of the lineup. But you can do a mid captain. I'm assuming you can do Kanavi with 4 JDG. Yep, you can do Kanavi with 4 JDG. So with OMG, you're getting an 80 carry captain with the underdogs, or like a good 4-stack jungle captain with the favorites. What happens if you switch over to E-Star instead? Now you're getting Loken captain with a 3-3. What happens if you switched Rat to your actual captain? Then I assume we could get 4 JDG. Okay, so yeah, if you put Rat as the captain, it doesn't work if you go the other way from the looks of it. We'll double check, obviously, but I don't think it works the other way. Oh, it does. So yeah, you can get an actual 80 carry captain if you play JDG with E-Star. So will E-Star have very decent size ownership? Basically, for sure. That JDG and or the E-Star versus OMG matchup is very close. People are not going to know which team to take from that. One of them is going to get them an 80 carry captain. The other one is going to get them a jungle captain if they want to play heavy JDG. So most people will let that be the decider, and they'll go, okay, I'll play E-Star then, because I'm getting a better captain. I'm getting a fatter JDG stack, a stronger JDG stack. So that it makes the most sense to me that E-Star ends up very highly owned. I'm not necessarily sure that they eclipse OMG, especially since you can still get 80 carry captain OMG lineups. They're just a little funkier. But I definitely think that puts E-Star like in this upper tier of ownership, the fact that they let you get a fat JDG stack. And if they can get a fat JDG stack, they can get a fat GenG stack or any of these other teams here. So I think that's what we expect to see tonight. E-Star and OMG being pretty close with JDG and GenG at the top. So that's all for me, guys. As per usual, I'll be around. Twitter, Discord, everywhere you can find me. Come chat. On Reddit recently, we started doing an advertising run on Reddit, and feel free if you're ever posting on Reddit to make mention of us. We would love to start exploring that space for sure. So I will talk to you guys later, and have a good rest of the day.